Today, I'm speaking with an icon in our industry, David DuBois, the current president and CEO of the International Association of Exhibition and Events. He has such an experience in our industry, and what he's doing is so instrumental for all of us. We'll speak about what IAEE does. We'll speak about the exhibition day on Capitol Hill, and we'll speak as well about the Women Leadership Forum and all the great things that he's putting together. Enjoy listening to David. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. I'm Eric Rosenberg, your host, and today I am absolutely delighted to speak with an icon, an old friend in the industry. David DuBois is the president and CEO of the International Association of Exhibition and Events, and he has been working in all the major associations. He's been really tailor-made the industry to his leadership, to his experience from PCMA to MPI. He's now in the board of directors of Destination International, of Meetings Mean Business, and of US Travel. David, thank you so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure, Eric. And I think you emphasized the word old, O-L-D, right?
Well, that's the thing when you say old friends, a longtime friend.
Yes. And I'm old. Older than you.
Well, just a little bit, but
okay.
it's always, everything is in the mind. When you'll reach the age of my grandfather in his 90s, when he was doing jet ski with me, then you could say that maybe you're getting a little bit old, but until then, doesn't work.
I remember seeing pictures of you and your grandfather.
Yes, thank you. So, David, you have been in an interesting year, as everyone in this industry. You are at the helm of IAEE. You're looking at all the exhibitions, not only in the US, but also in the world. So is it the same situation everywhere? What is different?
Well, thank you, Eric, for having me on your program today. And let me start out by reminding everybody that a little over a year ago, this virus called COVID came from Asia, from China. Obviously there's still a lot of research being done exactly how it happened. But I will tell you that I flew from PCMA's convention, Professional Convention Management Association's convention in Vancouver to Wuhan. I flew through Wuhan.
Oh, wow.
Yes, on my way to Nanning, and stayed at a hotel at the airport. I landed and went to the conference the next day, and they said, "Where did you stay last night?" And I said, "Wuhan." They have some kind of flu thing happening. So way back in January of 2020, obviously this started. And today I'm here to tell you that as the COVID infection kept moving towards the west or east, depending on what direction you go, China today is experiencing, and a lot of Asia is experiencing, about 75% of the exhibition business and events that they were enjoying in 2019, Eric. So,
wow.
Obviously as the COVID infection and pandemic slows down, it is in many parts of the world, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But as it slows down, then businesses are more willing to send their staff to be an exhibitor, their staff to be an attendee, to be a buyer, because trade shows and consumer shows are all about buying and selling, right? So
Yes.
We're starting to see progress coming from Asia across into the United States, our friends in Mexico, in Canada, even in the Middle East. Only Dubai is really open right now. And unfortunately, our friends and our members at IAEE, because we're in 50 countries, Europe will probably be the last to come back to levels that we enjoyed in 2019 and earlier.
Mm-hmm. So it's totally different from one place to another. I'm surprised you said 75% of the business back in Asia, like the 2019 level. That's really impressive.
Mostly in China, but starting to get better in Japan, in South Korea, in Singapore, and Southeast Asia as well, because they, except for China, they had a lot less of the COVID outbreaks.
Got it. Now, for a year now, we've been online. I totally get it when it comes to some meetings. I understand when it comes to some education in the future, and people say that rightly so. I believe that you'll have the part of online that will stay online, but everybody's looking at going back in person. And quite frankly, what trade show you would, as you would speak to any person in sales, they will tell you there is no better way than the in-person when it comes to sales. And you would speak to any city, and they will tell you that between 3 to 5 times more is spent by people attending a conference than regular tourists. So what happened with this online balance, and how do you see the future with the online versus in person?
Great question. And I tell you, I'm kind of a simple person, and Eric and I have been friends for years, so I'm sure he would love to say that he agrees that I'm a simple person. But the way you look at it is, in 2019, the meetings, convention, and trade show industry had its best year ever. We had more events, more economic impact, more sales tax generation to support cities and states and countries than we've ever had. And then we went completely dark. Mm-hmm. Completely dark. So to answer your question, we had to quote unquote pivot. I know we all love that word, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. As we roll our eyes, we had to pivot, Eric, to virtual, or in many places around the world, we call it digital or virtual, because virtual has different meanings with AI and some other things. But we're trying to lean towards digital, not in person. And that was a substitute. That's all we had. Mm-hmm. So, if you look at all the different platforms, and there's probably 25 or 30 different platforms like Zoom and Microsoft Meetings, et cetera, their revenues went through the roof. And so many companies, general service contractors that were in the pipe and drape and stand building and audiovisual projection and lighting and theatrical production business, they had to quote unquote pivot to quickly hire people with different skill sets that could put on these virtual digital events. So we're starting to see that it went like this because we went completely dark in person. We're starting to see that in person coming back around the world, led by Asia, and coming back into the U.S. We have about 15 states in the United States right now that their convention centers are open. Starting Orlando led the way. They've been open for probably 5 or 6 months. They've had over 50 live events in their convention center. I've been to 3 of them. And but the virtual digital is starting to slow down. But what we will see is a convergence of in-person and digital, and we call it hybrid. Mm-hmm. So that you have that ability to extend your market reach, because I think your audiences are ladies and gentlemen that are entrepreneurs, that are small business executives. 92% of the exhibition industry companies in the ecosystem are small businesses.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? So I'll stop there just to say that we're going to see in the last half, we're seeing it now, but really aggressively in the last half of 2021, the merging of in-person and digital, we call it hybrid. And then into 2022, we're going to see less digital and more in-person as people get more comfortable in traveling again, especially internationally.
Mm-hmm. And as you look now, and by the way, for the record, it's mid-March now, we're doing this recording, but when you look at Asia and China and the countries that are already more going back to a high percentage of in-person, what part of the online is there to remain, and how are they using the online today when they have already 75% of their attendance back?
Well, I've been a sales and marketing executive all my life, and I, happened to kind of trip into association management, which for the last 25 years I've really enjoyed. But I'm still in the meetings, convention, trade show business, because I started out, Eric, as you know, working for Sheraton and Ritz-Carlton hotels, checking people in and housekeeping and all that. The whole whole career path. So I've been blessed. But really, the reality now is that we're going to see a lot more in person. But if you think about it from a sales and marketing standpoint, if you sell widgets around the world, or you sell experiences around the world, Eric, you were a business events professional for years, and still is part of really a great DNA of your heart and your soul,
right?
Your upbringing. And if you think about the 30 countries that you did events in, you could only get so many people to fly to those events. Back in the day when we were younger, and even before 2020, you would just hope to market and get a lot more people to, instead of 1,500 people, I had 1,800 people at my in-person event. I had a 15 or 20% increase. Now the way we look at it is, if I could get normally 2,000 people or 5,000 people to an event in person through digital experiences, on-demand educational opportunities that people can watch at 2 a.m. if they wake up, or live general sessions from the X Association meeting or the Y trade show. Now we've expanded that audience. My association alone, we have members in 52 countries. We had 200 people at our December 2019 Expo annual meeting in Las Vegas. We were thrilled. That's the most we've ever had. Guess what? For Philadelphia this year in December of 2021, I think we can get 1,000 people digitally and a couple thousand people in person. So now I'm expanding my reach to customers and my members by 15, 20, 30%. So think about somebody selling technology, somebody selling medical equipment, someone selling, manufacturing equipment. They're reaching, Eric, more people now through digital, because not everybody in a industry or marketplace is going to be able to afford and attend in person. So you can see I get excited about the future, because the future is very bright.
And I can tell you've been in sales and still is.
Oh yeah,
still
and always
still are.
Hey, I had a general manager of a hotel once who said, David, if you don't help sell and market and bring in revenue, I got to lay housekeepers off. So get out there, get going.
Nice. And even when the way you talk, you can tell that you've been working with the ladies and gentlemen of the Ritz-Carlton.
For sure.
Now, talking about the experience there, because everybody is talking about what Horst Schulze put in place and all the experience. When you look back at trade show now, and yes, we're all getting excited for what's coming after when we're all going back, but how do you see trade shows operating in the future in terms of experiences when, I could say, well, I'm going to stay at home and attend online and get the education online. So what would be the design and what would be the incentive for somebody to attend a trade show in person?
Well, I'm going to focus just on exhibitions, which is obviously my life,
right,
24/7. Online exhibitions are mediocre at best. It's kind of like walking through a directory, a digital directory, and I can stop in this stand, this booth. I can stop in this one. I can say hello, But it's not the same as me walking through an aisle and saying, there's that company that I heard about, and they're new in our industry. They have a new technology. They have a new consulting service. They have a new experience. Hi. I stop and I go, you look like a nice person, Mr. Rosenberg. May I say hi? Yes. Here's my business card. Let's exchange. We spend 5 minutes together. And you say, you know what? I want to follow up with you next week, Mr. DuBois. And I say, hey, let's do that, because I want a full-blown demo where there's not a lot of people around.
Right.
But we just connected, and you may have a solution or an idea, or not, because you're an entrepreneur opportunity that's going to help me grow my business. I can't do that through a computer. I'm sorry, I can't.
I agree.
I can't shake your hand. I can't grab a glass of wine with you afterwards. I can't look you in the eyes. When you and I were together in November here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we both kind of looked at each other and said, we're in the face-to-face business, but no, this is mask to mask. Yeah. I'm sorry. You even said that you predominantly listen to people by listening
and watching their lips.
Mouth.
Absolutely.
Watching their lips.
Yep.
You can't do that online. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But digital, in-person, hybrid, they need to work together. And how we do that is the key for the exhibition professionals that are my members on how to keep ladies and gentlemen engaged and give them an experience that they go, you know what? I'll never, ever miss that trade show in person again because I'm tired. I'm computered out, Hollywood Squares with 10 people and, no matter what platform, I'm not going to be disrespectful. There's a lot of platforms out there.
No, I totally agree with you. Absolutely. And I've never attended an exhibition, a trade show, or a conference without meeting a new person, without having a new idea, and the serendipity of the entire experience. It's something that cannot be duplicated online for sure.
I was at the U.S. Travel Association board meeting last week in Tampa, and I waved at you as I flew over Orlando, and the greatest nugget I got was talking with a good friend of ours, Mike Massari with Caesars, as we're walking into the opening general session that morning. He said, David, we pulled aside and we had 10 minutes. We had a cup of coffee and we talked about some things that I didn't know. And I talked about some things that we were doing as an advocacy committee for our industry. And we learned from each other in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
More than sitting in that nice room all spread out with our masks on, listening to great presenters. That 5 minutes or 7 minutes with my good friend would be like spending 5 or 7 minutes with you. I would actually walk away much smarter.
Thank you. And I would learn how to pronounce the word advocacy.
Advocacy.
Right. So, David, one of the things that you've launched as well is Exhibition Day, and that's obviously the importance of the exhibition for the industry, for the country, for the taxes and everything. This year is happening on June 2nd. What is it exactly, and why is it extremely important to organize that?
Thank you. We've, at IAEE, my association, we've held 8 years in a row of the first week in June, a legislative action day on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And historically, up until last year, we'd get 125, 140 people. We would make 100 calls sitting in the offices with the congressman or woman, senator or congressman, congressperson, or their staffs. Because a lot of times they're in and out because they have to go do votes on the floor and all that good stuff. So probably 10%, 15% of the time we were actually with the congressional leader. But it's all about advocating and talking about the importance of our industry. In 2019, Eric, the exhibition industry alone, not including meetings or business events, just the exhibition industry was worth $109 billion US dollars.
That's a lot of zeros.
Billion. Over 1.5 million exhibiting companies. That's economic impact. Yeah. So, but you know what? The ladies and gentlemen that work in the congressional offices and that are elected leaders, they may think that, so what? But you know what? Whether they have a convention center in their town, whether it's Des Moines, Iowa, or whether it's Minneapolis or Javits in New York, or Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, they have these convention centers. They know about the exhibition business and the trade show business and the meetings business because they see it when they're home, where they grew up, where they serve their constituents. But in X city, I'll just say X city because I don't want to pick on anybody, that doesn't have a convention or an exhibition center, or maybe has a small performing arts center that they might do some tabletop shows in, or a beauty show, or or garden show, And my wife shows golden retrievers, so we go to some pretty interesting places. These are outdoor barns, and they're fabulous. What are they? They're trade shows because people are there selling doggy stuff. And Eric has met my wife and my puppies. But my point is that
I'm glad you start by your wife still, and not by the golden retrievers yet.
Exactly.
If Nancy's listening, thank you very much.
That's right. So my point here is that we are in the trade business, and for us to be on Capitol Hill, especially, there are 65 new senators or congressmen and women as of January. We're going to try to get to as many of those offices. Unfortunately, this year it's going to be virtual again. Last year we had 600 people virtually making up Zoom appointments. We normally have 125, 130 in person. So once again, a convergence of in-person and digital has expanded our reach. Bottom line is that we have to do a better job, and we have, because we've just hired our first vice president of government affairs for our exhibitions industry, Tommy Goodwin, supported financially by 7 organizations who put in money, raised $500,000 to be able to have a full-time representative, a lobbyist. He's based in Alexandria, Virginia, Washington, D.C. And by the way, he's working with U.S. Travel Association, American Hotel Lodging Association, Destination International, all the alphabet soup, Eric, that we're familiar with, to advocate for 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. We pay them overtime. Brilliant. To make sure that we are known much better than we ever have, because we've only done it 1 day a year for the last 8 years.
Yeah, but so it's phenomenal.
I could stop. I'll stop there.
And thank you for doing that. And for me, that's phenomenal to see how little actually people are sort of our industry.
We're an invisible industry.
Yeah, but until you have a pandemic, until you don't have the congresses, you don't have the trade show, you don't have the meetings, you don't have the theater show, you don't have the concert, the sports, the arenas, etc., 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 that finally people realize. And still, with the last, we're going back to work. But it's good to see.
The overall business events economic impact to GDP in 2019 was over $350 billion. So the trade show industry is about a little less than a third of that, Eric.
Yeah, 350 billion.
Billion with a B.
Of the GDP, and the millions of people that are working directly and indirectly. It's just huge. It's good that we have that. So thank you for doing that, David.
Well, it's you know what, I've been collaborating all my life, and I learned that years ago when I was in the hotel business in Washington, D.C. We had the Sheraton Hotel, Sheraton, Washington, the Washington Hilton, and the Omni Shoreham, all up near the zoo in Northwest D.C. And we competed with each other every day, every single day, till one day we were at a bar having a glass of wine or a beer. All 3 directors of sales and marketing, myself and 2 other gentlemen, we came up together and we said, you know what? We need to collaborate more. We came up with what was called back then, and this was in the 80s, the Connecticut Avenue Collection. Now, between the 3 hotels, we had 3,000 rooms.
Wow. We
had 250,000, 300,000 square feet of meeting and exhibition space. And now we competed against the downtown convention center, and 4 or 5 times a year, we won some business. So that's what we had to do, Eric, with the advocacy effort. 7 organizations got together, who've all tried to do their own thing. We came together as one. Now we have an alliance and a full-time a registered licensed lobbyist.
That's great. And another initiative that I would like you as well to speak about is the Women Leadership Forum. And I know with Kathy and Marsha, I'm not even talking about Stacy, Nicole, all the others, but with Marsha and Kathy specifically, they've been leading that as well. So what is the Women's Leadership Forum? What is happening during that forum, and how could the listener apply for it?
Well, first of all, I'm just looking down on my text because I wasn't sure of the date, but the regional virtual forum is April 20th. And the signature event, which we've always done in Washington, D.C., and it's always been sold out, is September 21, 22, or 23. So if anybody wants more information, they can go to IAEE.com. We make it simple, IAEE.com, and take a look. But Eric, let me take you back when you were chairman of Meeting Professionals International.
Oh my God, you still remember that?
Yeah, that was 82 years ago. Well, maybe 22 years, well, 12 years ago. But anyways, you will remember we had a multicultural initiative.
Yes.
An MPI. And that multicultural initiative was not only women's leadership, it was at the time not called what we call it today. It was talking about sexual preferences and religion and the full scope of multicultural. So what we have now in the meetings and exhibitions and conferences business is we have a really great focus and have for years on expanding women leadership skills. 60% or more of the people who work in the exhibition and meetings, business events industry are female.
Yeah, and it's 80% for meetings and events. So
80% for overall meetings, events, correct.
Yep.
Eric, take a guess on what percentage are vice president level or higher, C-level, women.
A shameful number, probably 20%.
Less than 15%.
Yeah.
And guess what? We have a lot of opportunity. Some of my best, I had two women bosses that, one lady, Kathy Ray, may she rest in peace. She was a resident manager when I was in the hotel. And I tell you what, she was great. She was tough on me, and I've learned so much from her. So we all know that whether we have women that are bosses, or we have employees that work for and with us, like 90% of my staff are female. Mm. And I have the best staff I've ever had, all due respect to my previous jobs. The goal is to empower, to embrace, to provide enhanced skills. We have men that teach portions of the courses of our Women's Leadership Forum, and wonderful, successful women. Men are invited to attend. Mm-hmm. You know what? So disappointing they don't.
Really?
But they're not excluded. Hey, I want to sit there and understand how I can better work with a woman who is either my boss or works for me. Yep. Kathy Breeden's my chief operating officer, and I tell you what, we have the greatest relationship, and I rarely make decisions without her input, Eric.
Yeah.
Anyways, sure. I could go on and on and on because I'm very passionate about this, but many industries are doing great things, not only for women, but for men, and obviously diversity and inclusion is really, really important as well. We have a very aggressive set of initiatives in our industry as well.
Yeah. So if I'm a woman, and basically this leadership forum is for a woman in our industry. So if I'm a woman, I go to IAEE.com and I can apply to attend the forum, right?
Or if you're a man that wants to learn how to be more successful in a lot of ways at work, and I've been married 39 years and at home.
Yes, well, yeah.
And you have 4 women in your life, Eric.
I got 4 bosses at home, which is, yeah, absolutely.
And you love every one of them.
True. Awesome. David, thank you so much for all of this. My last question, when we're going to meet in hopefully June
in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas for an MPI World Education Conference. We're going to have a good cigar and we're going to have a good glass of champagne. What are we going to celebrate in June?
We're going to celebrate that maybe half the world is vaccinated by then. 2.5 million people were vaccinated in the United States yesterday in middle of March. And by the time, your audience listens to this, watches it, etc., fingers crossed, hopefully by the end of by June, we have a 50 to 60% penetration. I'm getting my second shot on Saturday. My wife got hers 30 days ago, her second shot. So let's celebrate the fact that around the world, not just in the United States, because we're a global economy, right? Everybody listening to this, I think you told me earlier that you have listeners and viewers from over 40 or 50 countries.
Yes.
And what I'm telling you is I did a webinar for our certified exhibition managers in Brazil. We had 25 people on the webinar yesterday afternoon. And they're hurting, but they're doing better. And we need to get more shots in the arm. So let's have a toast to that. By June, over 50% of our world is vaccinated, and we get a herd immunity, and we get people traveling and attending exhibitions and events again. And of course, leisure travel with their families.
I'll drink to that with you. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Merci beaucoup, because my French is good.
Avec plaisir.
Avec plaisir. Ça va.
Thank you, David, for your time today, and thank you for everything you and IAEE are doing for our industry. I'm looking forward to seeing you in June at the MPI World Education Conference in Vegas. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, please reach out on LinkedIn or go to www.evenbusinessformula.com/group and join the Facebook group, The Business of Meetings, where we discuss everything for business owners in our meetings and event industry. Thank you.